mean, how big is this series in the grand scheme of things?
Oh, well, listen, I mean, it's obviously big. I mean, you're getting into late August. September's right around the corner. You have a 5-game lead going into it. You push it up to 6 with the win, the extra inning win the other night. If you win the series, you walk away with a 7-game lead. If you sweep, you walk away with 8. I just think that at this stage of the season, any distance you can put between, look, it's a 2-team race in the NL East. That's it. So any distance that the Nats can put between them and the Braves, I think, is obviously beneficial.
Dan, I want to ask you this question, and you've written a story about sort of some of the fandom and some of the bloggers who've covered the team through all the lean years. And historically now they have their 6-game lead, which is what they ended with when they were the Expos in the strike shortened season, I believe it was. Is this a team of destiny, the way they're winning some of these games? I mean, that's the question.
They were even talking about that on the broadcast yesterday when I think it was Worth had a
yes,
double,
hit
the ground ball down the third base line and pops
right.
over Chipper's glove.
Right.
I think that the regular season has gone about as well as a regular season could possibly have gone for them right now. People were talking 85, 86 wins. They're on pace for 101 wins right now. That's significantly better than anyone thought. I think that the playoffs is such a different story from like a pressure standpoint to the fact that we're talking about shortened series. If they do face the wild card team in the first round, they would start with 2 games on the road, which is kind of, I mean, they've been great on the road, but that's kind of a weird situation. I will say that this has been a dream regular season, whether you want to say it was destiny or whatever, but I think that you throw all of that out, especially with the way the baseball playoffs have gone recently. Right. But I also think that, we've talked so much about the fan base and how it's responded. I know that yesterday was Monday night. I know that it was raining. There was an hour rain delay. I was baffled that it was 21,000 against the Braves in August. I thought it would have been more. I thought it would have been a lot
It'll
more.
be interesting to see who shows up tonight because Strasburg's on the mound. And it is. I mean, it is a weekday game, but still. And I mean, the poor fans who got stranded by Metro, too. The rain delay plus 13 innings. I mean, they've got to do better than that, especially in the postseason with some of these later start times. LeVar, is it too early to start thinking about playoffs for this team? I mean, this team can't look that far ahead, can they still?
I don't think they should look that far ahead, but I don't think it's too early to have the discussion. I mean, obviously, it's a two-team race, as it was stated, and this team seems to be showing no signs of slowing down. So I don't think it's too early, but you certainly shouldn't overlook where you're at. 40-some games left. You got to exactly 40. They have to stay focused. I mean, they'll see the Braves again before the end of regular season. There are enough games to put themselves in a bad place if they don't stay focused. So.
And actually, did you hear Davey after the game was sort of suggesting that maybe his guys were like overswinging and kind of like treating it as too big of a game here in August, that they were treating it like a playoff game and that was hurting their performance.
And that's what we've talked about that. Like, how's that going to play out down the stretch for a team that's never been in contention? Well, I mean, you could argue 2005 for a little bit, but I mean, nobody on this team was still with the team. But I guess Zimmerman, that was Zimmerman's first year.
Get those jitters out now. If they're playing like it's a playoff game right now with 40 games left, then at least it can be addressed. I think that there's a positive to something like that.
I mean, this is a big series. They've got to treat it a little bit differently, but at the same time, they've got to kind of keep their perspective.
Yeah, but this gives Davey Johnson the opportunity to address the guys. They get an opportunity to kind of be dialed in a little bit more than, as opposed to going into the playoffs, and you have to try to have that conversation then.
Jason, a lot has been made of the Nationals winning despite Bryce Harper's slump. And just recently, in the last 4 games, he's really picked it up. He's 5 for 13, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. He rested for a game the other night, and Davey sort of mentioned that he sort of showed him why he shouldn't be resting with a home run the next day. Do you expect more of that sort of? Do you think that he's sort of back? Is he still slumping? Do you think that this is obviously a good sign for the team with him hitting, but do you think they're going to move him around the lineup at all, depending on how he's going down the stretch, and give him a rest here or there?
Well, he doesn't want to rest. I know people talk about his age and, fatigue. I mean, look, I think when you make the jump that he's made, you are going to struggle. I mean, anyone who didn't think he was going to struggle at certain points, it's just not realistic. When Davey sees that he needs a little break here and there, he's tried to give it to him. I think what he's doing is, he's seen pitches that he can hit. When pitchers make mistakes, I think he'll continue to hit. But I don't think he's necessarily out of the woods. I mean, there's 40 games left to play here. I expect him to contribute down the stretch, but I think he's going to have some bumps in the road too, which is to be expected because of his age, in my opinion, not necessarily fatigue.
I think if anyone on this team is a danger of kind of freaking out during the playoffs with like too much adrenaline or too much excitement, I think it's him. He, consistently this year has made throws to the wrong base that are costly in regular season games, but could be catastrophic in the playoffs. And even last night, I know it's not that big a deal, but at the bottom of the 11th, when he strikes out and smashes his bat on the plate, there's only so many kind of temper outbursts he can have before he's going to get tossed from a game eventually. And you can't just lose a player in a playoff game. You can't just sacrifice a batter in a playoff game like that. So, I mean, if there's anyone I would be nervous about freaking out during the playoffs, it'd be him.
I think Sarah wrote something about how many, like the over-under on numbers of bats he's going to smash before the end of the year, and he did it a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always keeping his emotions in check. And to the point of sort of resting him, it's not like this team doesn't have the depth to do that occasionally, and to give him a spot rest, have him come off the bench in pinch hitting situations. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes going forward.